LAPD sounding helicopter activity. Amplification and impossible light is inside of my apartment. This is what Vons was engaging in yesterday, group stalking in my apartment while LAPD was amplifying. That was monitoring also in violation of Title 18 is what Vons was doing yesterday in relevant position at the specific environment, monitoring with the third parties that live at the property as well. It is currently 7:23 a.m. where the entity is group stalking using a helicopter. All right, that's the people of the state crossing path monitoring. That's a demon that's not just walking to their car. They're acting in concert with the state that's sounding helicopter activity at the environment where the sun is setting and rising. That's P.O.C. Okay, that's why they're all going to federal prison. This is systematic engagement in the pattern of conduct. All right, it is currently again, and this demon is at 1818 apartment number 1. He's going to federal prison, not a natural born citizen. He's then going to be deported. He was monitoring with the people of the state, third party group stalker Vons. All right, crossing path. It is currently, and they engage in that literally as I speak to and reference Vons. Like any schedule that they are adhering to while they're group stalking is legally relevant because it's not. This is what's legally relevant. The fact that there's light in your apartment that is not sunlight. The fact that the entity is engaging in what is the hallmark of stalking via law enforcement agencies, specifically that like to use helicopters to engage in psychological torture while you're surrounded by an unnatural environment. That's what's legally relevant. The fact that they are also engaged in Title 18 federal stalking, referencing 22618 subsections 1 and 2. I want you to see up close of this light. It almost appears as though it's like smeared. And then you see the concentrated light. And this is magnification. The blinds are closed, number 1. Number 2, you're looking at these small little holes and they're magnified in size on the wall. That's entirely demonic. Okay, it's absolutely impossible light, but that concentrated light is not the totality of the engineered light. There's layers of light here. The magnification, the concentrated light is supposed to create the illusion in your mind that that's the sunlight. Okay, that's the environment where the demons are walking to their car. Those are cockroaches in the parking lot, and they know that I'm at my window. They're pacing all around while the entity is creeping in the sky space in a helicopter. This is the demon possessed engaging in what is 24-hour surveillance, and this is the prosecution of a government, a matter of public corruption, and this is the sex offense committed by that entity. All right, and aiming what is impossible light. Hold on 1 second. Blinds are closed while the entity is aiming what is the light source, which you are looking at after 5:27, 5:45 p.m. specifically is what I documented. And I'm showing you the sunset at 225 South Euclid Avenue, the Ontario Museum of History and Arts, present at 7:04 in the morning at the Ontario Museum of History and Arts. This is what I reminded you about yesterday as I was using the group stalking system that's underway in Los Angeles now that I'm living in a different region at 1806 North Alvarado Street, working in my leasing office at 1810 North Alvarado Street in Los Angeles. And the entity is maintaining a light source both rising and setting. Under no circumstances is the sun ever rising and setting at one address, and this is what the entity is engaging in. This is supposed to be the sunrise. That's supposed to be sunlight, which you already know because you see the same patterns appearing on the ceiling. You see the same sunlight that's supposedly occurring concentrated through the peephole. Don't forget about that documentation. Remember, it was concentrated appearing on this wall as though sunlight that's coming from the sun in this direction is bending around the corner to touch onto my door and concentrate through the peephole onto the wall. Don't forget about that documentation. I already captured it. After I captured it, the entity stopped doing that. It's never going to happen even one time. The entity engaging in what is engineered light that appears on the ceiling, the shadow of palm trees blowing in the wind as you look at that. The engineered light that you see here appearing on the ceiling replete with what is my shadow, multiple shadows, opening and closing the door while the entity is aiming this concentrated light over onto the ground. And as I opened the door, you saw massive light swipe all across the room. That's what demons are doing, by the way, when they're driving by you, just like Iris Carnero, and you saw her molest me with engineered light yesterday. That's what this light is. It's not sunlight. So you already know that this is the pattern of conduct. In addition, is the ongoing analysis with the specific environment where this same entity is engaging in kidnapping. So those demons that are pacing all around in the parking lot, those are the same demons, the third-party group stalkers, the people of the state is how they're legally referred to. They are engaging in the same exact criminal system, federal group stalking and monitoring, which is state surveillance. It is accomplished in concert with the state, who engages in surveillance using helicopters. They are engaging in surveillance while they are at their fire stations, sitting in their fire fire trucks, using those emergency vehicles while they are in hospitals and facilities, operating ambulance vehicles while they are at police stations and in police vehicles, using those police vehicles as criminal means of engaging in this criminal system. The elements of monitoring, control, and are always present, including inside of the private space. And it is currently 7:28 a.m. where the ongoing corroborating evidence is provided again while the demon-possessed are crossing path in a helicopter in the specific environment where, by the way, I told you yesterday, this is the same entity that is engaging in criminal summoning with the demon-possessed, with the people of the state. That's what the Ontario Police Department did. Ontario Police and LAPD, they're the same entity. This is the state of California engaging in criminal surveillance, federal group stalking, and monitoring the practice of demonic activity. This is the so-called secret society whose system is fully exposed now, and you are witnessing the threat that they are to American citizens, not only in this country but in the world. But here in the United States, we are surrounded by laws, a body of laws, constitutional grounds upon which the government has no right to place an innocent American citizen under surveillance, and the fact that they are employing satanic methods in doing so is legally relevant for purposes of prosecuting a corrupt government, which is a matter of public corruption, for what is going to be recognized as terrorism, where a government is employing satanic methods. And that is malicious as well. Engaging in what are satanic methods of targeting is that which is designed to never be capable of being established or proven, let alone believable by the ordinary targeted individual. Indeed, it is the pattern of conduct to criminally defame the targeted individual, while you have demons repeatedly in circles, like the demons of the Los Angeles Police Department. These are the mentally unstable psychopaths and violent sex offenders who are engaging in this crime in concert with the people of the state. Let me be clear, they are a flying, siren sounding advertisement for what the demon possessed look like, what they act like, and what they do in the specific environment. And it is shared by those who are walking around in the parking lot in the specific environment, as I just showed you outside of my window. This is not sunlight. At no time of day, at no time of year ever is there going to be a light source outside of my living room window, nor is that going to be sunlight appearing through closed blinds, nor is this iteration of light in any way separate or to be forgotten when you're looking at all the methods of engineered light that you have seen as I've been documenting the pattern of conduct, as I remain subject to it in Los Angeles, because nobody has a short-term memory. Nobody is forgetting about the entirety of the facts. And yet the entity is continuously engaging in what is, it's asininity in one regard, but it is, like I have stated, prosecutorial suicide in the legally relevant regard, okay? So I want to make sure that you understand that the entity has engaged in kidnapping at this specific environment, which is what the state that you're seeing stalking in real time on camera, that's called impunity. All right, doing so when you see them pacing around in the parking lot, they're monitoring, that's called impunity. Everybody at Alvarado Gardens is going to federal prison. This is the same entity that is engaged in a pattern of criminal summoning. That is the state that is stalking you, placing you under surveillance in a specific environment. The entity is then summoning itself. Not only summoning itself, meaning you have a demon-possessed third-party group stalker. The people of the state are engaging in what is an entire act, calling the police. They don't have to call the police. The people of the state and the state, acting via these corrupt law enforcement agencies, are keeping you under surveillance together, and that is why I have referred to it as criminal summoning. All right, it's an entire illusion. The entity is at all times engaged in state surveillance, as it has literally demonstrated to you on its own, as I have shown you the pattern of conduct, and it is in conformity to what the entity has already been documented as engaging in. Where the sun is rising and setting at the Ontario Museum of History and Arts, you are understanding that there will never be any sunrise here. You also know that this is not the natural environment. In other words, a demonic imitation. The specific environment is present. The pattern of conduct is underway, in other words, where the light source is both rising and setting literally through the window of the same apartment. This is a demonic imitation of the natural environment. Then you have a molestation of your person. That's a prosecution of a corrupt government keeping you under surveillance as a violent sex offender, while they are for a criminal purpose keeping you under surveillance and necessarily touching all over your person and surrounding you with this psychotic level of stalking with light, which demons do. Okay, that's why you have demons such as who you see crossing path Iris Carnero of 1806, apartment number 6, in the custody of her minor children. The substance of the audible activity of the demon, the third-party group stalker affiliated with speaker companies Don Noggle, who was monitoring in concert with Iris Carnero, and then gets on the phone while that same entity who was flying in a circle in a helicopter It's flying over my office. And by the way, the entity was doing that in the middle of the afternoon at the same property where you're looking at the demonic imitation of a sunrise, suggesting that this is supposed to be sunlight. And you're talking about hours later, it's still over the same property. In every way, you are witnessing what is the pattern of conduct. None of that is the iteration of the natural environment. And in addition to what is understanding and recognizing the specific environment, you are recognizing the lying minions that are the demon-possessed population who are engaged in the system of state surveillance, and then the ongoing desperate and obsessive endeavors to continue and harass, sexually violate, i.e. Iris Carnero, and obstruct justice, i.e. Don Noggle, a psychopath who knows that he's being documented even while he creates that audible activity, the substance of which I'm going to prosecute him for, because an entity is hostile to the fact that I am exposing all of their tactics and the fact that they are demons and that they're engaging in criminal surveillance in the United States. Okay, it is currently 7:33 a.m. And that body of evidence is already published to the Compare the P.O.C. folder. In connecting all the dots and maintaining a macro level and seeing the forest from the trees, you have seen this light source over me at the state facilitating venues, where you have seen the sheriff's departments engaging in group stalking. I'm referencing the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department on July 20th, 2020. I'm referencing the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department on March 22nd, 2022 at 9:03 in the morning, where the entity is keeping the light source here. All right, I'm referencing the San Bernardino Superior Court at 245 Arrow Avenue in San Bernardino, California, where the entity is keeping a light source over my head directly at 12:47 in the afternoon. And the entity is engaging in just what you see in the specific environment. The entity is stalking in a helicopter at that courthouse. I'm referencing the state facilitating venue of the Rancho Cucamonga Superior Court, 9:49 in the morning, if I recollect correctly, 10:29 in the morning, and the entity is maintaining a light source replete. And while I'm in the parking lot approaching that Rancho Cucamonga Superior Court, the entity doing exactly what you see here, stalking with a helicopter, aware of the fact that I'm going toward the courthouse, and is engaging in what is stalking, seeking to intimidate, harass, and psychologically torture while engaging in what is stalking in a helicopter, okay? The entity is at no time going to have the natural environment creating any sun over any of those courthouses. It's not the natural environment while I'm in the presence, that is, while these sheriff's departments are group stalking in the path, in relevant position, while the entity is following a demonic imitation of the natural environment, following me as I travel from place to place, and that's how you have the light source over me. But remember, the entity is not only engaged in what is that act of identifying group stalkers as you travel around, and the unnatural environment is documented as it remains over you, they are also engaging in what is unilateral expression of their demon possession and their ongoing engagement in the pattern of conduct, demon stalking in the path with light, and that is the impossible light activity. That is this engineered light that you see here, the demons of the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department crossing path and engineered light moving across the McDonald's while I am in downtown Los Angeles. Well, not downtown Los Angeles. You have Los Angeles nearest Cal State LA. This is documented on July 20th. This impossible light activity is moving across the McDonald's. That's the P.O.C. That's what you saw the demon that is Iris Carnero engaging in yesterday. That's impossible to ever occur. Sunlight doesn't ricochet off your cars. And that's exactly what's happening when the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department is crossing path when I am sitting in front of the McDonald's on July 2nd. That same McDonald's is where this entity is flying over my head repeatedly in helicopter. I'm also capturing the light source remaining over me while I'm standing at that 10 freeway where I'm facing the Cal State LA. The entity is engaging in what is group stalking as forgive me, I don't believe that that's July 20th. There are two different occasions, and I will upload so that you can be reminded. But the entity is maintaining, because on July 20th, I did go to also what is on Metrolink, a third party, and I come to Union Station. And you will see the light source remaining over me at the intersection of Cesar Chavez and I believe it's Los Angeles Street. The intersection is where the entity is maintaining the light source, and you are looking at the Los Angeles Police Department, the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department group stalking with the people of the state at no time of day, because the entity is engaging in rising and setting through the windows of this apartment, because the entity is rising and setting the light source at the Ontario Museum of History and Arts, because the entity is rising and setting the light source, the so-called sun, at 2301 South Euclid Avenue in Ontario, California, because the entity is rising and setting the light source at what is 215 East C Street. The Ovid Family Community Library in Ontario, California. None of that is the natural environment. And what you're looking at here is an ongoing demonic imitation of the environment, where the entity is stalking in helicopter, where the entity is maintaining what are all the methods of engineered light, as you've seen in my apartment throughout the duration of the day, and also in the workplace, in my office, also all over the property where demons are crossing paths, driving in and out of a parking lot, whether they are Center for Better Life, which is LA County, or a demon that lives on the property, such as Iris Carnero or Vanessa Dries or Gabriel Arriaga Carbajal. This is impossible for it to ever happen, and you have a pattern of the people of the state engaging in that, including waste management, driving by 1826 Lobdell, group stalking while they're driving by the infamous Green Gate at that property, and the same phenomenon occurring. Impossible light swiping across that gate, which I gave you screenshots of and I showed you in video, and if you pay attention, you'll see that light activity. That is the connector for what is not only the environment, specific environment showing the pattern of conduct, but also the demon possession. Only the demon possessed are engaged in group stalking. And they are not only documented, I'm speaking to the sheriff's departments and the courthouses, they are engaging in the demonic pattern of stalking with light. Crossing path, and you've got this circus of lights that coexist with that crossing your path. That's a demon that's targeting you. That's a psychopath and a sex offender that also knows when your panties are down. Okay? Because you're looking at demons whose face you don't even know. You don't even know these people. And they're engaging in an identical pattern while the environment is following you. That's a phenomenon. It's prosecuted as terrorism. What you're witnessing now is called light activity. It's analogous to turning a light switch on and off. This is what the entity is doing right now. Remember, it's not the natural environment. So none of this is naturally occurring. It's not a cloudy day. The entity is engaging what is covering up the light source, and it creates massive light activity. Everything in the specific environment is serving a criminal purpose, and that's also what you're going to learn and realize. It is currently 7:39 a.m. and this is documentation of the pattern of conduct. It's legally relevant because the people of the state that live at a crime scene engaging in a pattern of kidnapping, this is a threat to your life. It's a threat to your liberty. The people of the state have, as a pattern, engaged in what is criminal summoning, making up information, just like Iris Carnero did. She's making up information. And first of all, this is a violent sex offender who engaged in an act of terrorism, which is documented on video. She's molesting my person with directed light. That's terrorism via directed light. And then you have a third-party group stalker, Don Noggle, who was threatening my life systematically as a third party, placing me under surveillance, including on the venue of the internet, exercising fictitious authority as my manager for a third-party company. This is a third-party group stalker whose audible activity is nothing other than monitoring me. Let me be clear. When you're monitoring, you're threatening the life of the targeted individual. This is the government that is speaking, that is monitoring it. That's audible activity. But in addition, you're even going to analyze that audible activity. And that audible activity is coming out of the mouth of a psychopath who knows because they're engaged in Title 18 federal stalking, seeking to create some sort of false narrative where they're feigning ignorance about what you're documenting, quoting another third-party group stalker, another demon, about what they are claiming they were told about. This is psychotic, okay? And it's malice. It is serving to obstruct justice, and based on the ordinary targeted individuals being subjected to bullying, being subjected to perhaps an inability to approach somebody of authority who is approaching you in that manner when you're enforcing your rights, you're going to federal prison for that. And you are, I hope it's relevant to, let me be clear, your competency hearings. You're a violent psychopath who knows what you're doing is wrong, inappropriate, illegal. This is why it's a so-called secret society. And then you engage in such acts like that, everything coming out of your mouth. That's why I recorded the whole thing. I'm going to prosecute the people of the state. You're going to understand the pattern that they engage in, and they did it at Economy and where this entity engaged in kidnapping. This is the threat that's posed to your liberty, to your well-being, your ability to keep a job while you're enforcing your rights. Oh, the government is not going to in any way exercise fictitious authority while it is placing you under surveillance, engaging in psychological torture, harassment as an entity, sexual violence in the workplace while the pattern of conduct is underway. They don't have any legitimate basis to rid you of your job. And you don't even work for that company. That's the state. The malicious guise of the pattern of conduct is underway, going by the name of whatever your company name is, whatever your boss name, whatever they're going by. The P.O.C. is underway. The specific environment controls. You are now in the shoes of the state. That's called vicarious presence. That's the malice of the state system. And you prosecute for that. And Don Noggle is going to federal prison, not for only engaging federal stalking on the venue of the internet, not only for engaging criminal obstruction of justice, like I just documented yesterday, April 24, 2024, not only because he's engaging in what is criminally facilitating that system in concert with the people and the government, but also because this entity engages in what is threatening you more through these demon-possessed police agencies as you document the people of the state, including if it happens to be your manager or supervisor, anybody in some supposed position of fictitious authority, and the entity will engage in flying over your head and threatening your life more, as I also documented in a helicopter. That's that's directly attributed to the system that they are engaging in together. And that's relevant to how long you're going to sit in federal prison. You monitor, you threaten the life of the target individual together. You are engaging in what is posing an ongoing threat, and the targeted individual, meaning, the people of the state that are engaged in a criminal conspiracy with the state itself to place an American citizen criminally under surveillance, has no legal argument. You can sit in court and say whatever you want, and it's audible activity. Okay, so I want to be clear, it is legally irrelevant. The totality of the pattern of conduct has been revealed, and also their secret that this is a demon-possessed population is also relevant to the fact that you cannot believe anything that comes out of their mouths. In addition to that, you actually have facts which are establishing anything that they're claiming is actually legally irrelevant, because you have seen what is the surrounding circumstances. The state is established as a stalker in the specific environment. Any and everything that serves to infringe upon the target individual's ability to document, that is, enforce your rights, where your life is literally under threat. The entity that's engaging in kidnapping you, your liberty is literally under threat, as they can make up a narrative at any moment and just come in and kidnap you, claiming that they're arresting you based on the charges of an entity that's monitored. That's what the entity is doing. That's the significance. And then it's entertained by the demon-possessed, corrupt sheriff's departments who are group stalking you. And then it's carried on into the state facilitating venues of these courthouses full of demons who are entertaining fictitious charges, which they also know. They are also masquerading as official in the courthouse, having jurisdiction, which they do not. The state is monitoring. And it starts with the corrupt entity into the sheriff's department's hands, into the courts where they are exercising fictitious authority. And they are also violating the rules of the court, the procedures, and the laws in doing so. All right. But the specific environment is present. This is surrounding an entire state with what is the pattern of conduct. You don't have a legally relevant charge. Anything you say, sure, you'll get your day in court. You're going to be prosecuted. This is the state. This is the state's criminal system. Any facilitation in that, any obstruction of justice, you are paving the way and protecting the targeted individual in every regard. All right. So I want to be clear. It is currently 7:44 a.m. and I want to document that pattern of conduct, and at no time of day ever is the sun present, which you already know, but documenting the maintenance of that specific environment. The people of the state that live at Alvarado Gardens, they're all going to federal prison while the entity engages in a pattern of kidnapping you. This is why you're continuously engaging in group stalking, and they are today. That's why you're looking at the light source rising and setting. That's why you're looking at all the iterations of impossible light inside of my apartment. That's why you're looking at the entity engaging in psychotic and terrorizing behavior, flying in circles for prolonged periods of time all around the targeted individual. Okay, doing so while they are monitoring, engaging in surveillance on the venue of the internet. Okay, and then asking you questions about that which they already know, which the target individual is under no obligation to entertain. They're demons and they're psychopaths. They're sex offenders and they're stalkers. You just document it. All right. So I want to be clear. It is currently 7:45 in the morning. This is P.O.C. All 59 units here are filled with third parties. This is an ongoing emergency for so long as the targeted individual remains subject to this criminal system. It is not only conducted in relevant position, it is conducted on the venue of the internet in violation of Title 18, Sections 2261A, subsections 1 and 2. This impunity is relevant to what is the prolonged term in federal prison. The entity is acting through any and every third party that is on the grounds. There is no exception to engagement in the elements. So there's no one that's coming onto the grounds doing anything that's removed from the ongoing ceaseless system. And any means of facilitation is the criminal act. And where you're committed by living or working around the target individual, with the target individual, systematically present around the target individual, you're going to federal prison. Okay? It is currently 7:46 a.m. and this is P.O.C.